Before there was China, there was chaos, a land divided by ambition, soaked in centuries of blood. Kingdom against kingdom, brother against brother, dreams of peace buried beneath mountains of corpses. For nearly 500 years, the Middle Kingdom had no king, only rivals. This was the Warring States period, when the ancient land fractured into 7 powers, each fighting for dominion over all under heaven. And from this inferno, one state rose, hard, disciplined, and relentless. A kingdom forged not in glory, but in necessity. They were the Qin, and from their ranks would come a boy who became a god to his people, and a tyrant to the rest of the world. His name was Ying Zheng, the man history would call Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Long before the unification of China, civilization had already taken deep root along the Yellow River, the cradle of dynasties, myths, and men. But by the 5th century BC, the ancient Zhou dynasty had collapsed, kings became symbols, and power belonged to the strong. What followed was an age of endless war, an arms race of kingdoms. Iron replaced bronze. Horses replaced honor, scholars, spies, and strategists replaced sages. The Great Seven were Qi, Chu, Yan, Han, Zhao, Wei, and Qin. Qin was the westernmost, isolated, mountainous, and looked down upon by the eastern states as barbaric. But what the others mocked, Qin turned into strength. They were hardened by terrain and isolation, a people bred for endurance. And under a long line of reformers, Qin became a machine, a century before the rise of Ying Zheng. A statesman named Shang Yang transformed Qin from a minor border state into a disciplined war engine. He introduced the ruthless ideology of legalism, ruled by strict law, not by virtue or tradition. Every citizen's worth was measured by contribution to the state. Farmers fed the army. Soldiers were rewarded for kills. Nobles who disobeyed were executed without hesitation. The message was simple. The law is absolute. Qin grew stronger as the others weakened through decadence and rivalry, mass mobilization, merit-based ranks, and centralized command centuries ahead of their time. This brutal efficiency made Qin feared and prepared. By the time Ying Zheng was born into 59 BC, Qin was ready to devour the world. Ying Zheng was born into intrigue. His mother, Lady Zhao, was from a noble family of the rival state of Zhao. His father, King Zichu, had once been a hostage in Zhao, a political pawn in a brutal age. The story of Ying Zheng's early life is clouded by rumor and propaganda. Ancient historians like Sima Jin suggest betrayal, hidden parentage, even scandal. But these accounts were written long after his death, under dynasties eager to tarnish his memory. What is known is this: at the age of 13, Ying Zheng became king of Qin. By then, Qin was already the most powerful of the 7 states, but he was surrounded by enemies, and even within his own court, assassins and conspirators lurked in the shadows. Under the guidance of his prime minister Lu Bu, a cunning and ambitious man, the young king survived. But as Ying Zheng grew, his patience for manipulation faded. He learned early that trust was a weakness, and power demanded control. By the age of 22, he seized absolute authority, purged his court of traitors, and executed those who opposed him, including Lu Bu himself. The boy king had become a sovereign of terrifying will, and the world beyond Qin's mountains would soon feel his gaze. Ying Zheng's ambition was not conquest for glory, it was order. In a world of chaos, he sought to build something that could never fall again, a single, eternal state. The Qin armies moved like storms, vast, disciplined, and efficient. They fought not as men, but as extensions of law itself. Their generals were legends: Wang Jian, Meng Ao, Wang Ben, tacticians who reshaped the art of war. The campaign of unification began with Han, the weakest of the 7 kingdoms, in 230 BC. Qin's armies crushed it with minimal resistance. Han became the first domino to fall. Next was Zhao, once a mighty power, but weakened by internal strife. Ying Zheng personally oversaw the campaign, ensuring no mercy was shown. Zhao's capital, Handan, fell into 28 BC. The armies of Wei fell soon after into 25 BC. when Qin engineers redirected a river to flood the city of Dalian, drowning thousands. This was not war, it was extinction. But the greatest test came in the south, the vast and powerful kingdom of Chu. Chu's armies were enormous, and his land stretched deep into the humid plains. Ying Zheng sent his general Wang Jian, an old man of immense experience. At first, the campaign faltered. Chu's forces resisted fiercely, but Wang Jian waited, gathering supplies, training his men, studying his enemy. Then, into 23 BC, he struck with precision. The Chu army was annihilated, its king captured, its nobles executed. The dragon had consumed the tiger. Next came Yan, a northern kingdom that tried in desperation to assassinate Ying Zheng. The attempt failed, an event immortalized in Chinese history as Jing's failed assassination. Enraged, Ying Zheng launched a retaliatory campaign that crushed Yan's capital within a year. By 20 BC, only one remained. The final state, Qi, rich and complacent, watched as its neighbors fell. Its king believed submission would spare his people. He was wrong. Into 21 BC, Qin armies marched east. Qi surrendered without battle. And with that, for the first time in recorded history, China was united. When the wars ended, Ying Zheng stood as the sole ruler of a land stretching from the eastern sea to the western mountains, from the steppes of the north to the jungles of the south. He declared the end of the Age of Kings. No longer would rulers be called Wang Kings. He took a new title, Shi Huang, the first emperor. Under the heavens, there was now one throne, one law, one ruler, and thus was born the Qin Empire, the first centralized state in Chinese history. With unity came reform. The emperor standardized everything: currency, weights, measures, even the width of cart axles, so that all roads could carry the same wheels. He abolished the feudal system, dividing the empire into commanderies governed by loyal officials. He created a centralized bureaucracy, efficient, ruthless, unyielding. A single written script was established, the foundation of Chinese literacy for 2,000 years. The Great Wall's early foundations began under his rule, not yet the wall we know today, but a merging of northern fortifications into a vast defensive line against nomadic invaders. For the first time in human history, a civilization that had been divided by rivers, dialects, and kingdoms became one. But unity came at a cost. The same laws that built the empire crushed those beneath them. Dissent was silenced. Freedom was sacrificed for stability. The machinery of legalism that had built Qin's power now turned inward, enforcing not loyalty, but fear. The emperor's spies moved among his people. Whispers became treason. Punishment was swift, often public. And yet, beneath the fear, there was awe. The people of China, for the first time, lived under one calendar, one law, one peace. Ying Zheng had done the impossible. He had ended centuries of chaos and bound a fractured world into a single destiny. He was no longer a man. He was the state itself. Every road led to him. Every word served his will. And in the 10th year of his reign, the chronicles record his declaration, "Under heaven, there is but one ruler. My descendants shall inherit this forever." The world had changed. The warring states were gone. In their place, the Qin Empire, in the vision of a united China that would endure for millennia. History would judge him in many ways. A tyrant, a genius, a man who sought perfection and feared imperfection most of all. But one truth remains. Without him, there would be no China, from fire and blood. He built a world of order, and from that order came civilization itself.